Here's your wrestling news for February 11th, 2023, and we're kicking off today with Smackdown, as Sami Zayn had a tense interaction backstage with Jey Uso on this week's show. Of course, Jey was the only Bloodline member who didn't attack Zayn at the Royal Rumble, instead walking out on his family and leaving his status with the group unclear. Re-emerging this week, Jey teamed with his brother to retain the Smackdown tag titles against Braun Strowman and Ricochet, and in his backstage segment with Zayn, the latter was grateful for what Jey did, or rather didn't do, at the Royal Rumble. Jey didn't say a word, but Zayn hinted that he knew he wanted Roman Reigns to be taken down for a long time, and Sami vowed to be the next undisputed WWE Universal Champion. Jey granted Zayn a requested side fist bump, and it certainly appears that Jey and Sami are fully on the same side. Jey Uso has more of a reason than anybody else to see the fall of Roman Reigns, as his run as the tribal chief began at Jey's expense, and a betrayal could be looming soon enough. In another segment, Jimmy asked Jey about his loyalty to the Bloodline but didn't get an answer, and Paul Heyman told Jimmy that Roman Reigns wanted him to watch next week's Smackdown and Elimination Chamber from home. This is, of course, WWE's way of writing Jimmy and Jey off of shows scheduled for Canada, as in reality, Jimmy has a DUI that prevents him from crossing into the Great White North. Sami Zayn's storyline has been heralded by fans, and Jey Uso is giving the performance of a lifetime right now, but what did you think to the developments during this week's Smackdown? This babyface turn is just the latest character for Sami Zayn, who's been everything from a plucky underdog to a conspiracy theorist. If you've followed Sami's career in WWE since day one, you'll recognize his most iconic theme, Worlds Apart, which he used throughout his first run as a babyface and for a few years as a heel. Speaking to The Sick podcast, Sami spoke about the possibility of going back to this theme starting at Elimination Chamber and feels that this could be the perfect opportunity. I mean, if it were going to come back, I feel like that would be the time and place to do it. I've said this in other interviews, I feel like it would kind of be taking a step backwards. I think maybe a new song is in the cards, but I feel like that song, even though people have a real fondness for it, it seems, from a character's perspective, it just feels like taking a step backwards. At the same time, doing it for like a one-night thing in Montreal might be cool, I don't know. Sami's most recent theme, This Is It, that he debuted in October of 2022, is certainly not what you'd expect for arguably the most beloved babyface in WWE, but do you want to see WWE bring back Worlds Apart? Sound off in the comments. Sami won't be the only popular Canadian on the show, as Elimination Chamber will see the latest match with Edge, who will team with Beth Phoenix to face Finn Balor and Rhea Ripley. This will be the latest match in the war between the two sides, but how long has this match been in the works? According to Fightful Select, a mixed tag team match had been planned for some time dating back into the fall, but of course, that didn't work out. It's worth noting that plans made this early almost always get moved, scrapped, or changed, and in this case, the match was delayed for months and will now happen next week. We know when Edge's next match will be, but what about his next match after that? Well, this bout could see the Rated R superstar return to hell. In the Wrestling Observer newsletter, it is reported that WWE planned on hosting a Hell in a Cell match between Edge and Balor at the Royal Rumble, but because of Edge's acting commitments to Disney's new Percy Jackson series, those plans were scrapped. It is also noted that WWE isn't opposed to reusing the plans for Edge and Balor inside the cell, but rather than it be at the Royal Rumble, this match would take place at WrestleMania. Given how much this feud has been built, a Hell in a Cell match is an organic finish for this storyline, so don't be surprised to see Edge and Finn Balor enter the barbaric structure this April. More from Smackdown, as Ronda Rousey hadn't been seen since losing the Smackdown Women's Championship on the final Smackdown of 2022, but her hiatus ended this week. During a segment on last night's show, Natalya and Shayna Baszler had a war of words, with the Canadian calling Baszler a cheap knockoff version of Rousey. It wasn't long until Rousey was in the ring herself, and though Baszler feigned trying to stop her from attacking Natalya, this was just a trick so the Queen of Spades could blindside the Hart family member. Even the arrival of Shotzi could not prevent the assault from Baszler and Rousey, and with the plan reportedly for the two MMA alum to challenge for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles, do you want to see Rousey and Baszler be the next to hold the gold? Rey Mysterio is one of wrestling's most beloved superstars and has a legion of loyal fans who'd love to meet him, but this week, the masked legend was confronted by some so-called fans, and things went sour. While traveling to a WWE show, Rey was accosted by a group of people who wanted an autograph, which isn't uncommon, but Rey refused when he saw that they had over a dozen of pieces of merchandise for him to sign. Rey said that it's clear that these people were just wanting to have him sign merchandise to sell online, though he did sign one piece of merchandise when one of the group said he was a fan. Given that others in the group giggled when that member said he was a fan, we're not quite sure whether this claim is true, but if you ever meet a wrestler, just remember that you're there as a fan, not someone to make a profit. During the pandemic, WWE cut dozens upon dozens of superstars, all explained as budget cuts, at a time when WWE was making record profits. Oney Lorcan was one such name released by WWE, and now his days in the ring are over. Speaking on Real Radio Monsters, NXT coach Matt Bloom spoke about Lorcan, who was rehired by WWE as a trainer, and confirmed the latter's retirement, saying, "My position now as a head coach, I oversee my coaches. I have an amazing staff, so I gotta give props to those guys. Terry Taylor, Fit Finley, Robbie Brookside, Norman Smiley, Steve Corino, Alexander Winkler, Oney Lorcan, Chris Gerard, who just recently retired from being in the ring, Johnny Moss, and we have a few UK coaches that are on the cusp of being full-time coaches as well." It was in January that Lorcan tweeted that he was unsure if he'd wrestle his last match, and now that is the case. Lorcan's career grew in promotions like Evolve, Chikara, and CZW before he joined WWE in 2016, and whatever comes next for the former NXT Tag Team Champion, we're wishing him the best of luck. Over to Raw, and Cody Rhodes and Paul Heyman were part of one of the best segments we've seen in years during this week's episode, all building to WrestleMania 39. The pair spoke about their mutual love and respect for Dusty Rhodes, but Heyman's cutting line was that while Cody was Dusty's favorite son, Roman Reigns was the son he always wanted. Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select reports that in addition to being praised by fans, the segment was lauded by those backstage as well, and was said to be a sign that looser scripting in the post-Vince McMahon era of creative is the right way to go. Not only did the pair not have their promos written word for word like it would have been just a few years ago, but Sapp revealed that Cody and Heyman were both allowed to write their parts of the promo, and it came together perfectly. Triple H's approach to creative and talent has received a lot of praise from fans, as it is a breath of fresh air following the micromanaging of his father-in-law. And given the success this week, don't be surprised if more talent are given the chance to write their own promos. It's been just over 2 months since Matt Riddle was written off TV with an attack by the Bloodline, which was just a cover for the original Bros suspension. During his time away, Riddle has been busy at rehab and has been seen frequently with his adult film star girlfriend Misha Montana, but one place fans won't see him is WrestleMania. When Ringside News asked around, they were told that Matt Riddle is not a part of any WrestleMania plans, despite WWE initially being hopeful that the former US champion would be back in time. Are you disappointed that Riddle will miss WrestleMania, or is WWE better off without him? Share how you feel in the comments. Right now, John Cena is filming a role for his next movie, Ricky Stenicki, a comedy where he'll play a character 3 friends came up with to cover up for lying to their partners and families. Due to this character, Cena will have to don various outfits and personas to keep all these lies going, and was recently spotted in a skirt, tights, and heels. On Twitter, users had a mixed response, with some praising John for how well he looked, while others said it was bad for him to wear this under any circumstance. John is clearly comfortable in his gender identity that he sees no problem in wearing this for a role in a fictional movie. But what do you think to this outfit for Ricky Stenicki? And we're ending today with Smackdown, as there were not 1, but 3 different dark matches this week. Before Smackdown aired, Butch got a win over Giovanni Vinci, while fans had to wait until after the show to see the New Day defeat Dominic Mysterio and Damian Priest. The final match of the show saw Bray Wyatt defeat LA Knight in an ODQ match, said by one person to be miles better than the Lights Out match, and the fans at Smackdown certainly got their money's worth this week.